It's always good to hit record. So I would like to officially welcome everybody to Jude Marr's launch, the book with Animal Heart Press. We know each other by our wounds. We are so pleased and proud to be publishing you. It's such an honor, Jude. I met Jude when I was a poetry editor at, no, I'm blanking. Blanking. Okay. But when I read Jude's poetry, it's always like this incredible, just, yes, I get you. Yes, I feel you. And it's so intelligent. It's just enthralling. And when we saw this manuscript for the first time, we all said, yes.
Yes.
Resounding yes. And that's such a special thing. So congratulations, Jude. We're so happy to have you in our family at Animal Heart Press. It's such a pleasure to work with you. So I will hand this over. I will hand the mic over to the lovely Beth Gordon, our granny, our loving editor and shipping manager. Don't forget any of your jobs, who we love so much, to take it away with Jude.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. This is a great turnout. I think other than our anthologies, this is our first full-length manuscript that we published. All our other books have been chapbooks. I think I'm right in saying that. And I don't like to reduce people to labels, but so Jude, forgive me, but I do want to say that today, when we just found out the results of this election, I am just thrilled that we are publishing a non-binary immigrant poet on the day we're throwing Trump out. So cheers. So I met Jude actually in Portland a couple of years ago at AWP, but I know their work, from a number of literary journals online, and we published some of Jude's poems in Apparel recently. So really an honor to publish this book. If you haven't seen the cover, Amanda did an amazing job with the artwork as usual. And I think I'm just going to read one of the little blurbs because I think it describes the book really well. The poems in Jude Marr's riveting debut collection disrupt and deny conventional expectations in both form and content. Close to the bone wordplay and formal inventiveness take on all manner of brokenness, dysmorphia, alienation, and anxiety with a gritty panache. I think that's an excellent description. So Jude, one of the things that really fascinated me when I read your bio was that you had a whole life before becoming a poet. You were a librarian. You came to writing sort of later in life. And as somebody who, I had my first book published at the age of 55, and I think there's a really interesting trend we're seeing of what I call older emerging poets. And so I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey, like how you came to this writing life, came to the US and decided to get your MFA and PhD. Just wanted to hear a little bit about your journey.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, let me say thank you all so much for being here instead of being out there dancing in the streets and drinking champagne. And thank you so much to Ellie and Beth and Amanda and Mary, who have put up with all of my questions and emailing them in the middle of the night. Well, email Amanda in the middle of the night because she's in Australia. And this has been one of the best things that happened all year, which I know isn't saying very much, but as you know, it was great to have something to look forward to, including this reading. I will try and keep this short. Those of you who know me know very well that I have a lot of trouble keeping things brief. If you've ever had a conversation with me, you will know that, but I will try and give you a short answer, which is that I had a midlife crisis when I was 39 years old, which is a few years ago now, and went off traveling, stopped being a librarian. I didn't hate being a librarian, but it was part of, a life that I was done with. And I went traveling. I went around the world, and I went in reverse. I went to Australia and New Zealand and Hong Kong, and I kept going. And I ended up crossing the United States from west to east. And then I flew home to Scotland at that time. And I had always, when I was a child, a very small child, I wanted to be a writer. And then it all got lost in the mists of whatever was going on. And so on that flight home, which I didn't particularly enjoy, the thought of getting back to where I started, I decided that I would at least give writing a try as an adult. And I spent 10 years trying to figure out how to write a novel. I've got 3 manuscripts that I could show you to prove it. One of which is not the worst thing I've ever written, but I mean, it's so long ago now, I won't go back to it. But however, I went to Sarah Lawrence College. I met, amongst other people, my good friend Deirdre, who I hardly ever get to see, but who I have known since then, since that first time, Dee, right? Yeah. And lots of other people actually that I'm still in touch with from that time. And it was I went to a fiction workshop, a 1-week summer workshop, and was working on fiction. And I had a novel manuscript at that time. We did an exercise in the workshop, which I can't remember what the exercise was now, but what I wrote was not prose. It was a poem. It wasn't a very good poem. But the next poem I wrote after that actually got published eventually after I'd worked on it for a while. And then I just kept going. And I met that amazing and so sadly no longer with us poet, Thomas Lux, at Sarah Lawrence College. And he became my mentor and suggested that if I wanted to come over here and work and study and be a poet, then I should go to Georgia College and do an MFA. So that's what I did. He wrote me a recommendation, and I went there. And then I lived in Atlanta for a year. Go Atlanta. I'm so proud now to say that I was once a resident of Georgia, and I'm almost back there. I'm sort of on the fringes now, in Tallahassee. I love Atlanta. And then I moved on from there to do a PhD eventually. But the poetry really started at Sarah Lawrence College in 2009, I think. And I've just been doing that exclusively really since then. I'm a lazy writer, so poetry, at my age, poetry has an end in sight and it's quick, at least to get a draft on the page, and then you've got something to work with. It's so much, yeah. I couldn't think of a full-length prose manuscript again now. It's just, that would horrify me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that story. Good to, I just love to hear how people come to writing. So let's talk about the title of your book. We Know Each Other by Our Wounds. It's a very provocative title. It's gotten attention. I always say a title either gets out of the way of the work or it does a lot for the work. And I think it's doing a lot, but I wonder what the title means to you.
An excellent question. What does the title mean to me? One of the things that it means is that I feel, actually, this is an odd thing to say perhaps, but I kind of like, I think the title is much more expressive of my general sense of what I want to say than the poem that it belongs to. So that's the first thing I should say. Every time I hear the title, I think of the poem that it's that follows it, that it's actually the title of one of the poems in the collection. and which is really a poem about poets and poetry and writing. But in fact, the title has come to mean much more than that poem does to me. I think it's my expression, I think it sums up well my expression of how hard it is for me to connect to people in the world, other than through poetry. And I hope that that's why it resonates also with others, because I feel as if that is the thing that connects me. There's a poem in the collection that is really about being a sociopath, but a well-intentioned one, which is kind of what I am. I know that's not a word we want to use anymore, but it's a true thing. There are people like me in the world who don't feel deeply connected on a personal level, one-on-one, to others. And that's how I live my life. It's why I've traveled and moved around and been by myself, and I'm fine with that. But I feel this sense of woundedness, I guess, from my own past, and I feel that that is what I recognize and see in others, and I think it's what I recognize and see in the planet, in the world around us as well. And maybe I can only reach out from a distance to try and connect. But I think that that's what I recognize. I don't really recognize emotions in other people because I don't feel them myself. So it's hard for me to connect to other people's joy and to other people's sense of optimism and to other people's feelings of love. I don't do that well. But pain and a recognition of what is wounded in us somehow seems easier. And so I think maybe I might even write another poem that has that title and uses it in a different way.
Wow. I love that. I love the idea that the title to you means something more universal, that connection. You talk about how you've traveled all over the world, and that shows up in this book. There's a lot of journey happening in this book, and both metaphorical journeys, for self-identity and actual journeys. And I wonder, I'm thinking of you, being from Scotland and now being in the US, and I know a lot of the poems in the book, really address the issues of identity and feeling, as an other. But there's you challenge a lot of different binaries in this book. And I wonder how your experience as, I would say, an immigrant to this country, how that influenced and informed the poems in this book. Interesting.
I think that for me, coming to live in this country is significantly easier than for so many other people, that I feel uncomfortable. I mean, I'm not an immigrant because I have a non-resident visa. My existence here hangs by a thread at all times. So there is that. I think that my life has been filled with all of the privilege of being a white person in the world wherever I travel to. And I think that coming here didn't necessarily in the beginning really challenge me in regard to the how I feel about binaries and about which is a part of how we either look at the world in a fixed way or in a shifting way, in a how we look at the world around us and the people in it, and are either open or closed to what we see in all its infinite variety. I think when I first came here, whatever my motivations were, it was not really affecting my work particularly in the ways that it now does. But what changed for me was 2016, of course, as it did for so many people. I came to live in the southern United States thinking that I knew something about this country and realizing that I really didn't, and was, alternately shocked and encouraged by what I saw and experienced in those first few years. Not that my country isn't deeply racist, of course it is, and deeply misogynistic and all of the other ways in which we oppress people, but that was a different experience for me, and I started to introduce that, but I didn't know how to write about it. I didn't know how to write about as a stranger in somebody else's country, but studying in somebody else's country and writing because of that. I didn't know how to address any of those issues. And so I really didn't, there's nothing really of that in my work. If you look at my chapbook, which is based on my master's thesis, it really doesn't go to those places. It's kind of mopping up stuff from earlier in my life. And it was really only 2016 that made me start thinking, well, what can I say about this that is not encroaching, that is not borrowing from other people's stories? And I guess it made me more radical about my own identity as well, something that I have long since learned to live with. But as a child of the 60s and 70s, didn't have a vocabulary for, of course, back then. And so I found a way to go. I hope I found a way to be more meaningfully personal about in my writing, but also to link it philosophically to what I saw around me at a level that is more universal. And so I feel like I can comfortably write in those areas without being that, that stranger, that foreigner, that person who doesn't have a right to intrude into somebody else's story. Because, as part of what I'm saying, I suppose, is, or part of what I'm thinking about and looking at is how much identity matters and then also doesn't matter. It's that thing where people say, well, why can't we all just live together and acknowledge each other as fellow human beings, and that we are all, in this together, which is fine, except that's not the world that we actually live in. And so what's helpful is to explore all of the ways in which we have constructed that world and all its constraints, and then decided variously to accept those constructs as if they preceded us, as if they are a given. And I think at that level, I found a place where I can write that is meaningful, that it's not just about me, because I don't find myself that interesting to write about, but that's not, writing about my experience of living in somebody else's country or in somebody else's world, and pretending that I know something about it, because I don't think I do.
No, I think you're right. I think that that's the beauty of this book, is you have written something more universal. I think anybody who reads this book and has ever felt, as you said, those constructs that are sort of forced on us, and wonder why those don't feel right, why those don't feel appropriate. Anybody can connect with this book. So I have one more question for you, and that for anybody who's read this book, this is the big question. This is what it's on everybody's mind. All those colons you use.
Oh,
And I love it because to me, I think they are a visual of and I'm dying to hear you read some of these, but that colon in so many of your poems repeatedly, you know, the statement that's before the colon and the statement that's after the colon, and it visually kind of challenges some of the binaries. And so tell me, like, when did that start in your work? How, like, you know, did you start noticing? Was it a conscious decision? Because that's one of the things that I think is really fascinating when you read these poems.
yeah. Well, it arises out of my deep hatred for conventional punctuation and grammar. You know, some of you know that I run a writing center. That's my day job. And so this is sort of shocking to some of the people that I work with, but I've always been about challenging, you know, the conventions, I guess. But no, you're right. It did come to mean more to me. I mean, when my first poems, again, if you look back at the stuff that I published years ago, it is much more conventionally punctuated. And less experimental in general. My advisor for my master's thesis didn't particularly encourage me to become more experimental. But having after I mean, so that's not a complaint, but it's just, you know, I felt as if after I left that program, I really started to think more about not, you know, what you learn in the classroom, but just to get back to what I wanted to do with poetry, because there are no rules and you can really do whatever you want if it has a purpose to it and if you can figure out what that purpose is. And so I started, the more I wrote about issues around social justice and issues around you know, viewing the world differently rather than othering, seeing difference and acknowledging difference, and then figuring out what that means. I started doing things like I rarely capitalize anything, you know, that's I started being very vigorous in my thinking about line breaks and how they work. And not being afraid to break, if I could find a good reason to do it, generally break all of the so-called rules of poetry. And colons are part of that. You know, I'm one of those people, and this is, you know, you're on one side of this fence or the other. I guess it's a binary. The people either love or hate semicolons. I really dislike them. I've always disliked the look of them because they're unbalanced. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm a Libra. This could be, I suppose. But I don't like the look. I have no problem with them in prose. I use them in prose and they're perfectly fine. But there are certain things that just look and feel wrong to me in a poem. And semicolons are one of those things. They feel like they are not, they feel wishy-washy and unbalanced to me. So other things I dislike, punctuation at the end of a line, because the end of a line is already punctuated. And so that looks messy, you know, to have punctuation at the end of that. So those kinds of things, which are more technical issues, I suppose, and how the poem looks on the page. But then you're absolutely right. I began to realize that I particularly was drawn to colon because it actually visually makes a point. I use them instead of periods quite often because it feels as if I really want to put a period because that's too much, that's too definite. So it's a different kind of, I suppose the colon for me is a different kind of indication of this is not over, but at the same time, a colon is still, you know, neater and balanced and more definite than I don't know if I'm making sense here. It makes sense to me. But I think also it is, I guess it's a kind of a visual joke if you want to go there, because the colon could represent a binary, I suppose, in and of itself. Yeah. But mostly I just find it the most useful and to me visually and intellectually pleasing piece of punctuation that I can use in order to, break up my lines. But I would never put a colon at the end of a line. And I also use space on the page quite a lot. For similar reasons, I suppose, to avoid using too much punctuation.
Well, now that I know you're a Libra like me, I'm going to look at this book in an entirely different light. So we want to hear you read some poems. You probably have some in mind. I was one of the ones that to me, I think, uses space, uses colons, uses a lot of the techniques you're talking about. And I also think kind of embodies a lot of what this book is about, is on viewing a spider installation.
Oh, okay.
And then after that, read whatever you want to read for us.
Okay, let me see if I can, yep.
I'm going to mute
But I
myself.
haven't, sorry, Beth, I spoke over you. What did you say?
Oh, I said I'm just going to mute myself now to hear you read.
Okay, yeah, sure. I can start with on viewing a spider installation. And I even found the right page, which is astonishing because I haven't gotten used to the actual volume yet and where everything, is located in terms of
It's on page 59.
Yes, I got it. Thank you. I actually found it quite quickly. Okay. On viewing a spider installation. At the crux, the cross, the spider crotch, thread legs emerge, leg roots set in stone. Inside spider's stone egg body, life blood, stone blood. We make science in our image, spider says, but art is all distortion. My rootless fear eats my soul like a camera. I turn my back to the lens. I am body, spider says. I am fear. I fear I can no longer see your face. We are a freak museum, I say. My spider heart, your twisted threads.
Love that. I love We Are a Freak Museum. What a great line.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm fond of that line myself. And I especially love I love all of the illustrations that Amanda created for this volume, but that's my favorite one. Is that amazing bird as also, which we found, because there are a lot of birds in this book. This book almost had a bird title, as my chapbook does. And then I thought, no, because it's going to sound like I have a series of bird books. And I actually know nothing about birds. I mean, real birds, I'm no ornithologist. So they're always symbolic. Okay. I thought I'd go back. I'm really conscious also, as I was looking earlier to see what I might read. I was really conscious of not wanting to bring the mood down today, while at the same time remembering, as if I didn't already know, that most of my work is really quite dark and not very cheerful. And so I'm trying not to, bring it down too much. But here are a couple of poems that are really about what we were talking about earlier, about being non-binary, but also about how that relates to the wider world of binaries and how we envisage that. So the first one is called Tattered Labels. I stand at an intersection, spinning in place. I'm stuck in spin cycle, not droning, not drilling down. I'm attracting a crowd. Did I mention that I'm naked? But this is not another naked dream poem. I'm shedding his, her stories. I am bare, I am thread. My ribbon skin, untwisting, becomes a tangled mess. Bones clatter, articulated arms dance, flies buzz my spinning head. My fluids are centrifugal. The crowd steps back, repelled. Specters cross my intersection. I am north, not south, I say. I am east, not west. Still, my sinews mimic tattered labels. I am bloodless, unsexed. Ghost mist hides all my topographies. I am unmade. I am they, and not yet dead. And then containment. I'm standing at another busy intersection, longing to be heard. Bodies rush past, heads buried in new conversations. My body burns, intense, but I can't hear my voice. If I stand on a soapbox, should I wear a clown costume or strip to my bones? Mouthing silence, I gesticulate. My skin flakes, whiteness falls, whiteness remains. I stand unfleshed on an island knit from bones. Home is an unlit intersection. Sequence me, scream, bellow, bled, bellow, scream. Okay. So then I thought that I would read, so actually, you know what, I'm not going to read that. I'm going to go on to read. I really enjoy reading this poem. Some of what I write is difficult to read because you have to see it on the page. I make no excuses for reading it differently than it looks on the page because that's just, you know, it can be more than one thing. But here's one that is actually fairly easy to read and I was like reading. It's called The Man Who Smells of Lemons.
Love this one.
Good. As you visualize the poem, feel free to visualize anyone you want in the role of the man who smells of lemons. The man who smells of lemons wears blood brown and shit red as he stands still as a bleeding tree in a city parking lot. Every day, he plants himself in his usual spot. Every day, tarmac cracks radiate outward from his feet as he waits for his crowd. A buzzing crowd surrounds the man who smells of lemons. Voices run into each other like juice dispersing in water, but we who are exiled from the crowd can hear enough to get the zest. Lemon Man hardly moves, even when surrounded. Sometimes his fingers flutter like desiccated leaves. His eyes drift. I have been close to him as bark and have not been seen. One day, without preamble, the man who smells of lemons wilts to his knees. The crowd recedes. Who can hydrate this hybrid? How to water him? The parking lot has hydrants, but no hose. We who are exiled know that, given a length of hose, the crowd could aim an arc at Lemon Man's closed mouth or dribble rivulets around his roots. But how could liquid soak up through his knees to nourish him? That no one knows. My forearm rests on a third-floor window ledge. I am above Man Tree as I sip aquavit. I do not move my eye from my rifled sight. As we watch, a child in a yellow dress walks forward. She prods the man who never grew lemons with her bare foot. He topples onto his side. He twists his head and looks at Lemon Child. Man Tree tries to spit. A string of ghost spittle sticks to his cheek. From where I sit, I can't tell if felled man's spittle is sour or if it stings. Yellow dress runs flapping back into her crowd as if winged. I make a fist. A flower, red as man's shirt, blooms in the socket of one drifting eye. Ours, mine, his. We who are exiled know the crowd is pitiless.
Wow. That last line.
It's a bit of a downer though, Beth, isn't it?
As Elisabeth put in the text, we are here for your dark poems, Jude. We're here for you.
Well, you know, we who are adults know that the darkness only recedes a little, right?
I think the darkness, Jude, you know, we all share it and know it. And like we hold you when you read it. So like we can take it because we love you. And
Well,
this is
thank you.
how we hold you.
Thank
So,
you so much.
of course.
Okay, I would like to read a couple of bee poems. So now I know as much about bees as I know about birds, I will warn you. So again, they are symbolic, but they are, you know, important creatures. And these two sit next to each other in the book. The first one is called Bird Bee. Remember the yellow house that stood for years empty, used for nothing but secrets. A house built to last until the end of days, or rotten place. I went there. Following wing sounds, I found a magpie trapped in a fly-blown attic. In the bird's eye, nothing but light. In its beak, the body of a bee. Through a wheel window, I saw leaves drop from a heavy sky while distantly a horseman cantered. So I asked, what kind of signs are these? And waited with bird for the yellow house not to reply. I rarely, if ever, use epigrams or even nod knowingly in the direction of another poet. But that line, so I asked what kind of signs are these, is shamelessly lifted from my absolute favorite poet, Adrienne Rich, who I hope would not mind. But it's just, you know, that her lines are sometimes just in my head. And then to the man who left a jar of bees at the bookstore, which is based on a true incident that happened, which some of you may have seen. It became a bit of a joke on Twitter, at least, because a man really did leave a jar of bees in, I think it was the London Review of Books bookstore. And I don't know what the outcome of that story was, but that prompted me to write this poem. To the man who left a jar of bees at the bookstore. Man in a blue coat, not yellow. What compels you to travel with bees? Are these your familiars, jarred and buzzy, waiting to break loose and juice you into action? Is that why you left them in the necromancy section? Man in blue, do you believe bees' pollen-coated feet can dance a dusty measure on your sleeve and weave a constellation? Do you grieve, overcoated man, for bees so easily forgotten among books? You cared for them once, you punched holes in the lid of their glass cell. Bringer of bees, we have not placed your apiary in Lost and Found with umbrellas. Your bees, bless their soft striped souls, are reading through glass from the Georgics of Virgil. We have shown them prints by Monet and Van Gogh. Blue man, blues man, come get your bees before we close. We bought them violets and now they are abuzz, getting down in their mason jar made for honey. We fed them sugar water on a spoon, then left them alone in orchestral scores. They're ready to jam. Bee man, do you keep bees for their sweetness? Do you believe they can heal your body with pain-killing venom? Do you want them to die for you? If your bees die waiting, we will pour nectar over them. We will place their glass casket among the staff picks and prepare a waxen image as a monument. We will open our doors to bees who mourn.
Wow. I know you just made Amanda really, really happy.
Is that your favorite one, Amanda?
Yeah. So I think we have time for a couple more.
Okay.
And then maybe Elisabeth will take a little break and then come back and do open mic.
Yeah, I'm thinking, Jude, if you maybe had 2 more beautiful ones to share, and we'll take a 5-minute wine/bathroom break, and we'll come back and do open mic.
Sure, great.
Does that sound good? Okay.
That sounds good.
I mean,
Okay.
I could listen to you read all day, but in the
By the way, the blue coat that the man was wearing was actually part of the original story, but it just goes to show how you have to think really hard about what you're saying and what the symbolic or metaphorical import of what you're saying might be. So I slightly hesitated to mention a bad guy in a blue coat today, but I went for it anyway.
Hey.
He literally was wearing a blue coat. Okay, I'm going to read, I want to end with the very last poem in the book, which is very short and is one of my favorites, but I'm going to go with another one that I enjoy reading and get up a bit of a head of steam on this one. There's quite a lot of environmental eco poetry in this book as well. And here's one, Cognitive Dissonance. When human creatures hug a bottom line so hard the whole page breaks, when paper immolates, when skylines unravel, when fine ash scatters bone-laden across neighborhoods, rock, paper, skin, when ocean boils in city streets and gray whales rot on Venice Beach where Jonah skates, when Noah's docked in bluegrass state, when wine burns, when fried chicken still has feathers and smokes egg yellow and red in gulfs, when coral dies while fire ants colonize drowned avenues, when trees sing blues, mistaking hurricane for sugar, when fish ingest our plastic trash that smells like food as women in uncultured pearls eat vacuum-sealed salmon, when smoke plumes haze under the feathered evidence of golden states is seen from space, when orbit is the safest place, when lemon groves grow sinkholes, when roses blast holes in heaving chests and silence pulsates, when peace by shattered peace, an oiled and oven-ready dove plucks bullets from their bloodied breast, when day is drowned, when night's ablaze, when Gaia too writhes naked, staked and wishbone split. That's all there is. We broke the planet. There's no warranty. That's it. Okay. This last one is really short. And it's one of those that is not, it works differently on the page because there's a lot of space in this poem. It's called Aftermath. We are still matter, light, slow dancing, dying, eyes, bright as. We are still matter, motes, adrift, dying. Eyes are we, still light, as, dancing, dark-centered, eye, dying, no matter.
Beautiful. Bravo.
Beautiful, Jude. Thank you for blessing us with these. big hug. One of
Thank
each
you.
through the Zoom and give you this big hug, deep breaths and hugs, how I
I
feel
can,
today.
I'm getting used to feeling it as much as I'm capable of feeling, via Zoom. It's becoming kind of a
Yeah.
normal thing. I no
Right.
longer find it weird to talk to people this way. I don't know what that says about me, but anyway.
Well, I've adjusted too. I think the more you do it, and when it's the only interaction you have, you start to cling to it. And I long for these moments to see your face, your voice, my friends. We're so isolated. So
And what's wonderful is that I get to see and be with people that I never normally get to see.
right.
My friends from all over the place who I haven't seen
Where
for
people get
years. I
from
mean,
all over the world.
there's
Mhm.
Patty, who's also from that very first workshop that I went to at Sarah Lawrence, and Ben and Emily from my MFA. Hi, who I hardly ever get to
Wonderful.
see
Yeah, I want
anymore.
to show there. I'm going to show everybody. Yeah.
And Andy, who's one of the people I've known for longest that I still talk to, which is really remarkable. I mean, I'm not good at keeping in touch. So, and there's Tina, also from, hi Tina, from Sarah Lawrence, and there's Holly from Palm Beach Poetry Festival, which is an amazing venue if anyone wants to go there. And then Diamond, who's one of my friends and colleagues from Right Now, and people from my PhD program. There's Jessica and Jenny. And who else is here? And Jadul, hey, up there at the top.
And
yeah, it's
Jude, not to interrupt you, but folks, feel free to unmute and say hello back. I mean, this can be kind of a free time to say hello.
Hello,
Please
Jude.
go ahead.
Hi, Jude.
everybody.
Hey.
Send your love over the airways.
Yeah, it's so great to see you all.
Yeah. Yeah.
It actually makes me feel like I want to go on doing this kind of poetry event, even once we all get to travel again and be in
Yes.
person. I'd still love to do this because I'm never in the same place as all the people that I want to see and talk to.
It's so great to hear your voice, Jude, and your poems.
Well,
Yeah,
thank
great
you.
work.
And back at you. Yeah, absolutely.
Great
And
work.
it's amazing how many people I still know from Sarah Lawrence from those first couple of years when I was first writing poems and first coming over to do like writerly stuff in the US. It's amazing to me. We were together for like a week for a workshop and we still keep in touch all these years later. So
It does seem to be the incubator, right?
Yeah.
I think it's so special. Yeah. Because if you were just going to have a launch like at a little cafe or your local library, you might have 5 or 10 people from your village town where I am, it's teeny. And this way you get to see, this international group of this, we are a family. We have to be, we have to protect each other and love each other. And this lets us do that in such an amazing way. And I agree. I think it's a powerful tool that I would think at Animal Heart we will keep using, regardless of, if we do a live launch, we'd still do this,
Yeah, definitely. I've gotten hooked now on going to the events at the Cheltenham Poetry Festival, which is so ironic because for the 10 years or so before I came over here, I lived in and around Hereford, which is just down the road from Cheltenham. So I'm really familiar with that part of England. And now I'm back there virtually talking to poets there. Poets in the UK don't really know my work very much at all, but yeah, and now I'm going to multiple events there, which I normally obviously wouldn't be able to do. It's really,
it's a silver lining of the COVID that at least we're here and we are not as alone as we feel sometimes. We're a DM away, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for that reading. I mean, those poems are so extraordinary. Jude, you have a way of writing that is just completely singular and unique, and stunning is not the word. It's touching.
I'll take it if that's the word you want to use.
It touches my heart. It goes inside me and I absorb it, and it's so healing. It's painful but healing at the same time, which is a feat. What I'm thinking is a 5-minute break until 4 p.m. Eastern my time. People who don't need a break, stay here and chat by all means. People who need a break, let's come back at 4 and we'll start open micing. Damien, are you good to go first, my dear? Okay, just put you right on the spot and have you start us off, yeah? Okay, and I don't want to forget anyone or miss anybody, so make sure you holler at me if I didn't realize, okay, if you want to read. So I want to make sure everyone gets to. I think we'll read one poem each, either 2 short or 1 medium, just for the sake of time. So everyone can get a chance, okay? So I'll see you all at 4. Thank you, Jude.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Beth. What a beautiful interview. That was so lovely.
Yes, thanks, Beth. Those were great questions.
She did a great job.
Mm.
I was thinking I really enjoyed getting to listen this time and not being the interviewer. Like I don't usually, get to do that, and getting to just enjoy that. Listening to you, Jude, was really a pleasure for me. So thank you, Beth. You can interview whenever you want.
Happy to.
We were just saying what a great job you did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, my day job, I'm an executive recruiter, so I interview people all day long.
Yeah. No, you did a nice job, and it flowed so lovely. So thank you. I'm going to mute and stop video just so I can run to the restroom. I'll be back.
Okay. I'm looking at a lot of empty chairs now.
Hey, Jude.
Hey.
Hey,
Here I
Jude.
am.
Hi, Holly. Hi, hi, Ben. How are you?
Hey guys.
It's so good to see you.
We're in a very good mood today for your reading.
Yeah.
I bet. Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Even better. I'm glad. I'm really excited when your book actually gets here, whenever that is. I don't even know when it is.
Yes, you do.
It's nice getting to see what you've done, but I have no idea what it'll be. It's fantastic.
Jude, this is our new cat.
And yeah.
Oh, hey, I've seen photographs, but it's so.
Have you seen him on his leash?
No, I missed that.
I'll have to send you a picture of him. We take him outside on a leash.
Oh, wow.
He's a weird cat.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Holly, how are you? Are you?
I'm good. It's just so good to see you. You haven't changed one bit. You have not changed. You look the same. You look gorgeous. And
Well, thank you so much.
I love your poems. And
Thank
I'm gonna buy a book. So I haven't been working. So I am definitely gonna buy your book though. I'm gonna do it.
That's very kind of you. Don't don't.
Oh, no. I have money to buy them. I'm just saying I'm being selective for the books that I do buy, but I'm definitely buying your book. So
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
I know it's been a few years, but I really miss Tom. He was a class act.
He was. I know. I miss him too. For some reason, my calendar, which is linked to my contacts, my Gmail contacts, keeps telling me when his birthday is, and his birthday is this week, I think.
Oh, is it? Okay.
It pops up on my calendar every year that this is Tom Lux's birthday, and I can't see. I guess I could, if I delete him from my contacts, I suppose that I would get rid of it, but I really don't want
But don't
to
delete him. Yeah, I don't blame you.
I don't want to do that.
I don't blame you.
He was my teacher.
It was so nice that he took you under his wing, but that's the kind of guy, if he liked your poetry, he wanted to help you,
Yes, he helped. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. He helped a lot of people. He wasn't,
Yes.
I appreciated everything that he did for me, but I know that he helped a great many people. He was that guy. He was
My first teacher. Also, he was my first poetry teacher. Yeah, what an amazing person. But I think in Laurent Bosseler's class, right? I believe.
Sorry, say again, Patty. I
I
didn't.
believe that we met in Laurent Bosseler's class.
Oh, yes, we did. Yes, and I found a photograph of us all the other day, or relatively recently, which I didn't even realize I had, but I was kind of going through some old stuff.
Yeah, I think I have that same photo. Yeah, she was an amazing mentor also.
Yeah.
Well, Jude, whose class were we? I don't think it was Thomas Lux. What class were we in together? I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
It was so long ago. I can't
know.
remember.
It feels like a whole other life.
I know. It does.
It kind of was in a way, you know, the before and after.
Yes.
I can't remember.
Me
whose
neither. That's okay. Yeah, I don't remember.
No, I took Tom's class the first year I went to PBPF, and I'm still in touch with several of those people,
Yeah.
including someone who I stay with fairly often when I go to New York, which is always handy.
Well, you know, Judy Ireland was singing your praises at a Zoom that I was in. She was going on about your poetry and how much she loves it. So.
Yeah, I mean that's so kind of her. Yeah, we haven't met in person either since the PBPF days, but have always kept in touch, and I you know, regularly get to keep up with what she's doing. So that's very kind of her.
Yeah.
And where are you at the moment? Where are you guys living now?
I'm in South Florida. I'm not proud to be living in Florida after the, but you know, I'm disappointed but anyway, but yeah, I live in South Florida.
Yeah, I know. But we can't, you know, just dismiss the whole of South Florida.
I know, but some people are very angry at, like, yeah, you're right. You can't.
Well,
absolutely.
I know, but people used to say that about Georgia, you know, and
Yeah.
look at Georgia.
I know. That's what I mean. Georgia, the states that were red states have turned blue now, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I wish we had, but.
Well, maybe next time.
Yeah.
Maybe next time. I know I live in a little blue bubble up here in Tallahassee, so it's easy.
There's some wonderful poets up in what's her name? My mind is blank. One of the professors there, I don't know if he still teaches at Tallahassee University. He was at the poetry festival one year. I can't think of his name though.
David Kirby? Is it David Kirby?
Yeah, David. Yes, that's who. Yep.
Yeah.
And then another wonderful poet came out of Tallahassee. That's she's young. I can't think of it. I love her poetry, and my mind is blank. When I think of it, anyway.
I would pitch in, but I'm spoiled for choice because there's so many great poets here in town.
Yeah.
Including Diamond, who's
Tracy Brimhall. Tracy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Yeah. It's so lovely to hear you all catch up. What a wonderful connection with old friends. It's so precious.
What are you drinking, Em?
So I've started making my own cold brew at home because I'm trying not to go out anywhere. So I have I'll show you. So I was having a nice glass of cold brew. I got my little.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm having. I'm not drinking alcohol yet, but we do have champagne for later.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yes. I wish I had something. Mind you, I'd just be sitting here by myself, which is a little sad, you know, to be drinking. I do have one glass of wine left in the only bottle of wine that I had in the house that I've been drinking all week. But I'm saving that last glass for tonight.
There you go.
Yes, everyone calls up the drink.
Yeah. You don't have to drink alone. You can call us up.
Right.
Oh, okay.
All of us. I don't think I was heard before. I was thinking, I was just saying how nice it was to hear everyone catch up and reconnect, and it's so beautiful. I think if everyone is up for open mic, we should go for it and hear some amazing poetry from our friends. And Damien, since you're calling from Ireland, I thought maybe you could go first so that you can get to bed at a decent hour.
Oh, thank you very much.
How are you, dear? I'm so glad you came.
I'm in my pajamas in the lower half, so that's why.
Perfect. Perfect.
I'm so good. Thanks for having me.
We would love.
Congratulate you. It's been a joy to listen to you. Your backstory is interesting.
Thank you,
Yes.
Damien.
For sure.
This poem is from my debut collection, Eat the Storms, which was published by the Hedgehog Poetry Press 2 months ago. And it's called Tattered Brown Trousers. And I guess it's about the relationship I didn't have with my father, but now with time I've grown to understand him more. So, tattered brown trousers. Father ate all the flowers in the back garden because he couldn't swallow the promise of happiness. Blooming within the home, he couldn't find his roots within. Father left all the flowers in the front garden, too proud for others to see him pulling from the soil everything he needed help with, but had never been thought the words for. Father liked to laugh first when others lost, so no one could hear his own loss tearing at him. Like weeds twisting behind the restraints he wore, like those inside-out jumpers and tattered brown trousers he thought no one could see through. Father ate all the flowers in the shadows of the back garden and choked on a laugh that no one understood. Thank you very much.
Oh, so touching and so aching. Beautiful work. Damien's new book. I don't think is it your debut or is it?
Yeah, it's my debut.
It's your debut.
Yeah.
So, Damien, you want to put that link in the chat, my dear?
Indeed, I will indeed. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Such a lovely reading. Yeah, so beautiful. I love the title of your book. Just wonderful. Thank you. So, Patricia, are you right there? Hello. Would you like to go next since you don't have a ton of time either? I'd love to hear you read.
That was such a beautiful poem, Damien. It's a little intimidating to read after you, but I'll do it anyway. This is also a father poem, and this is a poem from way back in my Sarah Lawrence days that Tom helped me with quite a bit. And I did not know there was going to be an open mic today, but it's good timing because this poem that I wrote for my dad when he was growing old back then is timely because he passed away this past Monday, and we were very close. So I'll just read this poem and dedicate it to my dad, who is Captain Robert E. Kearns. This poem contains the word Q-U-A-Y. For anybody who does not know that word, it's a boating term. It can be pronounced key or quay. I'll say it key, and it's kind of like a loading dock where you would load things onto a ship. Since my dad was a tugboat captain, it's called Journey in White and Green. Any place is fair game for snow in these hills, like spruces bowing branches. A prayer, not decision, deciduous, so be it. They shed their spring to white. Birches, sweet novices, leaf out tender green resumes in vernal whiteout. Each branch, believe me, I'm here, spring strong, thin-skinned as critics, as your arms have become, as the flesh alongside your nose. Lately it has pulled taut and olive green, shade of gale, of gull, of tobacco, and the turbid Atlantic. Wash of wave and sky, child and child and child again is sea glass. You've burnished and polished us. At the ebb, matter more solid causes bruises the color of wet cedar bark up and down your brittle limbs. Calcareous mollusk, your pearl is lymph, limerick, scatter of stones, is timbre, is key, hymn of thanks and well-placed pause. Pine-trimmed, celestial by snow, your sea-colored eyes are still Orion's light to me. Thank you.
Patricia, thank you so much for sharing that with us. So sorry for your loss, and it's an absolutely beautiful poem.
Thank you for listening to it. He was 93 years old. He lived a really long life, so it's a time to celebrate.
Yeah,
Not to be-
celebrate the
not to
beauty of.
Mhm.
Hugs to you, sweetie. Thank you so much for sharing, and you held your own brilliantly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Beautiful writing, beautiful. Thank you. Next, I believe we have Robert. Robert joining us from Toronto. How are you, Robert? Come and unmute thyself. Robert, dear, we need you to unmute. Start with that.
There we go.
There you are.
Technology.
How are you? I'm so glad to see you.
Hi, how are
What a
you?
wonderful thing. Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're very welcome. It's lovely
Good.
to be at an Animal Heart reading, and that was great. A great book that you've just launched, Jude.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yes.
Well, I think I will read a poem that it's about things that I carry, or a background of something that you carry around inside you, and maybe shapes an image field that you live in. If that makes any
Okay.
sense.
Sounds
So
wonderful.
this is called The House Above the River Was the First House. The house above the river was the first house. In it, I heard your voice cry out. You climbed the intoxicated night, dreaming of rough shoulders placed among the stars above the river, the hot streets, the black house on the corner, with the weeds growing up around. Much of my life took place in that first house. I set my clothing out on the bed. Below, I heard the band tuning their instruments. The first house was the practice house. I counted out the money and placed it into the palm of your hand. That's what allowed us to stay in the first house above the river. We retreated to the highway. We walked down the hill covered in dust. And if I might move from the first house, its ghostly image sways in a bare field many miles away. Thank you. Done, finished.
Haunting and visceral and lovely, as much of your work is, my dear. Robert and I had the wonderful honor of reading in Toronto. Was that last year? Is that just
It was, I know, like, whoa, it seems like another world, but
another
yeah, it
world?
was in June 2019.
June of 2019, we got
Yeah.
to go to Knife Fork Books, and that was fantastic.
Yeah, for
Toronto's-
our Ice Flow launch. And
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
special. It's very nice to have you here tonight. Thank you for coming.
yeah.
Happy to see you. So next I had Holly. Did I have Holly? My list. Is Holly
Oh.
still here?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
Holly. Yeah, would you like to go next?
Sure. So this
Great.
this is a poem. Let me turn my fan off here.
Sure.
This is a poem about, it's about the moon. It's also a little bit about depression and little bit about mental illness, and it's going to be published in the South Florida Poetry Journal, which is coming out. Their next edition is coming out fairly soon. So it's called What the Moon Knows. Oh, hold on, I don't have the first line. The moon whispers, crazy is sexy on you. The moon understands what it is to have your reputation of causing chaos. I often think that venturing out late at night at 3 a.m. should not be forbidden or frowned upon. Sanity says with its minty breath, listen, darling, when you can't fall asleep, go down to the kitchen and make yourself a ham sandwich. Have a glass of warm milk. Sanity, you are what makes me barmy. With your home remedies, your tedious affirmations, and suggestions that I should remain within the perimeters of my interior and exterior walls. Most feel that if you go out into a raven sky, you may be unable to control your outdoor voice, and you will struggle, and you will wake the neighbors who struggle to keep their eyes open as the clock strikes 10. The neighbors that rise with the rooster, who don't want to know what crazy is. If you go out at 4 a.m. like serial killers and thieves, you may inherit a murderous heart. You may have the urge to rip off your clothes and mount anything firm and smooth. The nosy owl will pass nasty rumors to other creatures of the night. He'll tell them the hem of your skirt is scented of cherries and semen, and your breath is strong like valerian. The moon knows that I must come out into a space that is miles larger than my unmanageable imagination. I cannot fathom what the moon has seen, the bloodbaths, the forsaken and the brilliant, pleading with mangled hearts and brains teetering and uncompliant, revolving doors of equations, premonitions, and weird nostalgia, entering and exiting, and putting down roots. And the moon can only watch. The moon told me once, I am not the cure for what ails you, and I am sorry that I shine so brightly. I will be your God, but I am no God. You are the magicians, and I am the trick. I will be your muse, but remember, even when I am a crescent, I am still only round.
Wow, Holly. Whew. I think you had us all enraptured there. Striking and powerful, and the moon. I mean, whew.
Oh, thank you.
Congratulations on getting that published. That's fantastic. If you want to put a link to the journal so we can check it out, you know.
Yeah, I'll see if I can do that.
Okay. It's not published yet, right? It's coming. Well, it was beautiful. Thank you so much, Holly, for sharing. JD, would you like to go next, my dear?
Certainly.
There he is.
I'm doing a little dance with the sun.
Oh.
Beth and I are here in East Tennessee at the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. And there, I'm looking at a ridge over in that direction, and then the sun, which is going down. It's just a beautiful setting, and wish you could all be here. But
I wish we were there too. Sounds great.
We would have an awesome time.
I would like to come drink some whiskey and write poems with y'all. That's what I would like.
You got it. We need to do that. Okay.
That's our super.
Yeah, 2 of them.
I hope I get to.
And back in September, a kidney procedure, and while I was waiting for the staff to show up, and I began to think about what do they do with people that are in a procedure, and what do the medical people think? Well, you know, it's probably just a job to them. Anyway, this poem sprang forth. When bleeding is not an option. I've been bleeding in my bed again, letting the dentist into my side as I wait for the pain to go away. My hygienist is a vampire with a voracious appetite for cat head biscuits. They cover my nostrils with a plastic pig snout, butter me up, grease me down, force me to say oink in 3 different languages with that delicious pink gas. I am privy to the ways of medical people, how they toss the bodies from one gurney to another, pull down the covers to let the operating staff see the defenseless genitals, meek and timid from the lack of introduction. They tell me that the bruises are normal, but they are not. They love to poke and prod and scoff at bare flesh, which cannot defend itself in any way whatsoever. They are bullies with expensive weapons. The rad techs take pictures and send them to the moon, out into the heavens, to white hot stars. They stand behind walls of lead and tell me that I am safe, I am fine, knowing all the time that they have filmed and cataloged and charged thousands of dollars for others to take a peek. When it's my turn to repay the favors, I'm not so sure how kind I will be. My granny always said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, and I never knew what she was talking about. But now that my soul is blistered and worn out from what they've done to me, I think I understand that I must choose to even up the ante or let it slide by. I'm not sure at this time which choice I will make.
JD, I love listening to you read.
Thank you.
Fantastic. I love the way your mind works and your poems come out.
That's a dangerous statement.
Is it? We'll have to talk later about that. Thank you so much for sharing, and I hope you and Beth have a wonderful, productive, fun time. I'm sure you will. It's great to see you. Let's see. We have, sorry, I have a puppy barking here. Was it Jenny? Jenny next? I think Jenny. Jenny, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. Would you like to read? We'd love to
Sure.
hear you read. Wonderful.
This poem is called Lake Minnewawa, and it was published in Dislocate, Atlas of the Midwest, about 7 years ago. So just thinking of it today. On land, my cousin always wins. Monopoly, foosball, arguments. I dream, am disorganized. I don't like to fight. Our mothers float on air mattresses over our heads and give us the shallows, buckets and shovels, the muck. The Dan Meyer boy growls by his golden boat. I see muscles move under brown skin and hope he will bring me later into deep water. When we still, the minnows move in close, deciding it seems together where they will go. When you're small, safety trumps the autonomy of individuals. In the same way that we can't see them, the leeches come, to bare legs, to summer soles, to the edges of our bathing suits. When we rise, they hang on us like punctuation. My cousin's howls bring back our mothers. From the cottage, down steep steps, the salt shaker. My cousin won't use it. He is red-faced, a wailing siren. But I give my leeches coats of white, and they bunch up, fall off, and die, angry dots. Here is something I can do better. Be still, do the necessary thing, not scream. Thanks.
Did we lose Elisabeth?
Oh, Ellie, are you frozen?
Yeah, she's looking frozen to me, but I am on the other side of the world, so.
Yeah, she was holding very, very still.
Sylvia, well, we have a pause. It's so good to see you.
Hello.
I'm here. Can you tap your mic on your phone? Hi everybody, sorry. No, I can't. Dear. I'm having a little trouble with my Wi-Fi right now, everybody. I apologize. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can hear me? Okay. Something went funny with my Wi-Fi. I apologize. Thank you so much, Jenny. That was wonderful. Beautiful poem. I had to hear all of it before my Wi-Fi went off. So, Kari? I read it as Kari, but then I know I'm supposed to say it as Kari. How are you, dear? I know, right? It's good. We're so glad to see you. How are you?
All right.
And Kari's book is coming up in one short month. Her beautiful book is our first release at Femme Salve Press, right?
Show me again. Show me again.
So very exciting. So we'll be doing this again in about a month from now with Kari's book. And hopefully you can all come back and share with us.
Should I read something or?
Yeah, go ahead and read, honey. So I'm sorry about my Wi-Fi. Just keep going.
It's okay.
Go ahead, dear.
My cat is in the background, so I apologize for that.
That's okay. That's allowed. I'm gonna take it away, dear.
All right. And this is from the forthcoming book. This is May. Wake. Scraping on the ceiling, clogs grinding, apartment sounds, hatch from cotton womb, scoop, popcorn from a plastic bag, 10 a.m. because it only takes 2 beers to render nightmares on these meds. Thank you. Wait. Go print, sparking a resonance unearthed. One of 3 cigarettes, a cigarette to quiet the purple butterfly who flings himself from the atrium to the left ventricle of this blood-pumping muscle, just bad at people. Don't send a letter, you fucking weirdo. Just email. Thank you. Be normal for once. Stop. Stare from the stop sign behind the wheel. The sun blinks and laughs slow and deep, but does not question. Sudden loss of throat to twinkling salt water peer up over $1 billion home, even as cars pile behind and dream. Around 3 a.m., twists in the bark of an oak. On a walk near the college, which Ovidian woman routes to that Berkeley sidewalk. A man directs a wobbling girl, expresses dismay, concern for her life expression, discern. Worn by walking early Berkeley streets, dead week, essays do. That, oh man, she's the bottom of the barrel at last call, look here. Still, he'll stop to crush a leaf and name and guide to hold under nose, crinkle, breathe it in, stop and breathe, recoil a little. This leaf is born of fire. Little leaf is familiar, rub thumb, finger tips together. Precious ridges, ponderosa pines drop their cones, seeds explode in forest fires. Remember the word serotinous. He offers a couch like an ex did once when an unfriend was in need. Remember how her curvature still rises and falls in the mind, and his beside liminal spaces. Cannot take leaf into mouth, drink fire risen ridges, hope for more poison from another fair feathered forget-me-not. And the pills have lied again. When you put your head beside mine to say goodnight, I feel the damned sucking depth of my roots.
Damn, girl. You do it to me every time. It's extraordinary. Just brilliant. Wow. Let's see. So before we get into our lovely Animal Heart Press readers, I want to make sure we have time for everyone. Is there anyone here that wanted to read that I've not called? Sylvia, I see you there. I didn't know if you wanted to read. Emily, Is there anyone else that I don't want to miss anyone?
Ellie, I have a special request.
Okay.
I would like to read one more poem. I know this is not my part of the event, but I'd like to read one for Sylvia because Sylvia came in late and she didn't hear me read.
Oh, I think that would be lovely.
Is that
absolutely?
Okay? And
Take it away.
this is someone I haven't seen for years, but we go back to the now much lamented Martha's Vineyard residency, which was an amazing place. I met so many great people there. And again, it's about, I don't know, 10 years ago. Okay, this is quite short. It's called Taxonomies. I am a broken link in the chain of generations. My name, which I invented, ends with me. Nazis inventoried gold teeth, also Wimexen's plaited hair and baby skin. Taxonomy is death. Audubon killed his birds to keep their wings still, to capture them on paper. My primary appetite is for creation, but times I tear chapters from sacred books to eat. Paper tastes of fear. My skin roots me, dead but not, in lost DNA. Order is God. If God's a pebble in my shoe, I will go barefoot. I must deviate until my skin soles, until my unchained feet bleed. So I hope, Sylvia, you know why I chose that one to read for you. It felt appropriate.
Sylvia, we want to welcome you. Yeah, I was going to say, can you unmute? We'd love to say hi. Welcome.
Hi,
So
thank
glad you could come.
It's good to be here. I'm having a complicated day. My brother just arrived. It's my first human being in my home in like 7 months. So I'm slightly distracted, but I absolutely wanted to be here. Thank you. That was beautiful, Jude.
Thank you. Thank you. It's so great to see you. One of these days, we will be in the same city at the same time.
Very good. Thank you, Jude. I'm thrilled you could read another. I was going to ask you to read another one at the end anyway, so I think that was perfect timing for Sylvia.
Oh, okay.
You
I'm
know?
sorry, I didn't know that.
No, not at all. No, you couldn't have known what was in my head.
I'm shutting up again now.
That was lovely. So again, if I'm missing anyone, just let me know in the chat or raise your hand and smack me. But I would love to at this time, if Amanda, our lovely editor of Animal Heart Press, who runs that show like nobody's business, would like to read us a poem. Because it's 7 a.m. in Australia, and why not?
It's gone 8 a.m. now, and
It's
the
gone
person
8.
with the bedroom closest to my office is now awake, so I can unmute myself and
Very
talk like a normal
good.
person. I'm going to read. I'm going to read a poem I just wrote last week in a workshop, and it's a very ranty feminist poem. So I'm sorry to anyone who's not into ranty feminism, but this is a mashup of.
Oh, I think we all are.
Of a book that I found in the Library of Congress.
Sorry, mute.
The Lady's Guide to Gentility, which made me want to scream and punch things. And I've mashed it up with my own words. So you'll probably be able to hear which of the words that came out of that book. It looks different on the page to the way that I'll read it, but you'll appreciate the sentiment, I'm sure. It's called The Apparel of Older Ladies. The rules suitable to age resemble those which mediocrity of fortune imposes. Is there any greater insult than mediocrity? Ladies, be extraordinary. Rules are for breaking. For instance, old ladies should abstain from gaudy colours, recherché designs, too late fashions. A woman who knows her own mind, loves what she loves, and gives less of a damn than Rhett Butler is exactly the kind of recherche the world needs more of. Abstinence is only effective if used perfectly, and I've never met a perfect human, but I've seen a number of perfect red dresses, especially in vintage clothing stores. And showy ornaments such as feathers, flowers, and jewels. Such a shame it might take me 14% longer to afford them, as long as I don't, have a baby. A lady in her decline, wearing her hair dressed and having short sleeves and adorned with necklaces, bracelets, etc. Iris Apfel, Vivian Westwood, Patricia Field. Offends as much against propriety as against her interest and dignity. If propriety is so easily offended, perhaps she needs a glorious multicolored caftan, $3 earrings the size of Christmas baubles, a Bex and a good lie down. Don't you worry about my interests and dignity, darling. I'm old enough to look after myself. And a little bit of an Australian aside, a Bex and a good lie down. A very long time ago, there was a company called Bex that made analgesics, and one of their big marketing things that they used, especially to suburban housewives, if you would, was that if you are feeling stressed or agitated, you just need a Bex and a good lie down.
We're not lying down for any of you. You can't make me. Amanda, I love hearing that inner raging feminist come out, and I hug her tightly when she does. Brilliant work, and as always. And I'm so happy to see you in general. Yay.
I'm
Yep.
awake.
You're here. You're here. I'm so glad you could come. Thank you, love.
I was just going to say that for me, Bex and a good lie down means like Bex as in beer. So that also works, right?
Jude, that works.
Yeah, I thought so.
And lay down on your own damn terms after you drink it. All right, my dears. So Beth naturally would follow Amanda, I think. Would you like to read for us, my dear?
Absolutely. And I was debating between two poems, but after you read that one, I knew which one I was going to read. And also, Jude, when you were talking about how much you loved Atlanta, this poem took place in Atlanta. So a couple reasons to read it. And it's also an old lady poem. It's called Grandmother's Ardmore Hotel Bar, Atlanta. At the end of the bar, a younger woman speaks, buzzing with busyness, strawberry daiquiri in hand, and we learn that she is firing 10 people tomorrow, is coordinating cardboard boxes to remove their belongings, and extra security. Her blackish eyes swimming with the excitement of it all. We are not drinking pale wine, our tongues attuned to caramel-infused mezcal, single malt scotch, Japanese whiskey neat. There is nothing we have not tasted or imagined, knowing that someone can disappear one day, their corpse found a year later in a dry riverbed, knowing that the worst sound we hear is landing gear, a reminder that we cannot stay in flight. We order another round, knowing absence has a shape, tastes more like bourbon than coconut. It has a name, like a gray-haired incantation, too dangerous to put onto the page. Thank you.
Beth, I love you so much. And I love your language always. Brilliant and knowing, and just everything you do comes from your soul, from your heart and soul, and you hold nothing back from there. And I love you for it.
Story too, by the way, true story.
Wonderful poem. I hope that gets published here.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Our very own Mary Jaimes-Serrano, are you still with us, my love?
I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me. Go in there. Or my children. The only thing I have open and ready to read is something I wrote as this
Read.
election was coming up.
You're there.
I'm
Hi,
here.
sweetie. Do you want to read something?
Oh, sorry. I was saying the only thing I have that I have been working on was something I wrote when the election was coming up. It's called Change.
That works. And by the way, you're allowed to have children making noise in the background. It's completely acceptable.
All right. Okay, here it goes. Change. The world clamors for a cure to a virus that is affecting us all. The masses took notice when the virus touched their homes, lives, money. The truth is, there is a virus far deadlier and with greater consequences, infecting millions every year. An illness so vile that it destroys entire families in a matter of seconds. This disease has thrived long before Corona 1 through 19 and will continue well past COVID-40. The hardest part to fathom is that there is already a cure for this life-threatening disease. Unlike the COVID vaccine, it won't make Big Pharma any money, so we don't need to try it. You see, the cure for the deadliest disease in the history of mankind is change. The disease that is killing in numbers far surpassing the COVIDs of today is racism. Again, there is a cure, change.
Thank you, Mary. I love it when you read, because you work so hard for us and plan these and come and listen, and I love when you read, and I love your poetry, darling, and we appreciate you so very much. Thank you, sweetheart. I think at this point, does anybody else want to read other than myself? Steve, did you want to read something, my dear? We have time. Did you?
No, thank you. I appreciate it, though.
Okay, very good. Okay, so here I am looking for a poem to read. Sorry. I'm scrolling through the book that Amanda and I have been working on. We have a little wee book that we've written poems back and forth. Well, we don't write them back and forth. We write them like every other word or every other line, and we write them in tandem together, right, Amanda? We do. And we've kind of finally turned it into like a book. And so I want to read one of those, but I just need to find, I'm sorry, just give me one moment.
Just to give you an idea, it's a shared Google document that ended up with like 100 pages in it. So that's why it's taking
Yeah,
so
Amanda,
long
just talk
to
for a
find
minute while I find the poem I want. I'm coming, I promise.
I'll talk a little bit about our process, Ellie.
I'd love that.
We have a shared Google Doc that we have open, and on the times when our schedules align as necessary, when I'm not running kids to school and Ellie's not in the middle of the night, we actually sit together with the document open, and I might start a poem and write a stanza or a couple of lines, and then Ellie will jump in and she'll write a couple of lines, and I actually can sit and watch her writing live, and she does the same when I'm writing. And it's really eye-opening process to watch somebody live edit their own work, or to see them grab a thread of your thought and take it in a completely different direction that you weren't expecting, but then to go with that and follow along with it, taking it another place again, all spontaneously rather than and sort of sitting on it overnight or having a little bit of a think about it. It's made some really, really interesting poems that have gone in different places to what I ever expected that they would, in the best possible way.
Yeah, thank you for covering for me there. I found a poem, and a lot of our earlier stuff that we did in this way was very much anxiety ridden, and the stress of parenting and kind of holding on for dear life to each other to avoid cracking, that crack where you just can't take something any longer. And then it has more recently morphed into looking for the light and finding the light. And so it feels, it's been its own narrative and its own journey. And while we feel like cracking often still, we hold on tight, right? Yeah. I've never read this one aloud, so let's just go for it. This is called Night Blooms. It's a beautiful one. If you carry me, I can follow into places my heart shies from. Be my strength, light my footsteps, hold me upright, wilting flower I am. I found my hands cut off at the wrist last night, hidden under the bed, guarded by the monster waiting there to devour petals of happiness when they bloom in the shade. I follow you close, learning from your moves as you reach into his throat, dig them out one by one. They are covered in black, but intact, and their color bleeds into the sunlight, spilling from your strong, gentle fingers as you wash them clean with our shared tears, sewing back onto my wrists, the limp palms, the gray fingers. You smile at me so gently, move a strand of gray hair from my eyes, and tell me, don't worry, love, it's okay. Mommies can also cry. If tears were diamonds, we'd be millionaires. We still are. I wear your friendship, a sparkling brooch of honor that illuminates my world, even in the faintest of light. We giggle like girls and pin the monster to the floorboards. Cut off a bristled stalk and shove it down his ridiculous maw. If you carry me, I can follow into the darkest night. The pain is never stronger than this. And yet I bear it with you, holding me steady and guiding my feet to more stable ground. We clasp hands and rise to bloom another day in the shadows.
Oh, beautiful.
My sweet.
I can hear you both in that. That's lovely.
Could you tell whose words were whose, though?
No, that's the beauty of it. I've been reading.
I can't remember who's either.
Yeah.
And we've noted that we often forget who did which part unless there's a Australian spelling like color OURS. Then we're like, that's probably Amanda.
Although I'm getting very good at spelling across both British English and American English.
Yep. We've learned from each other. I like to write in the British Australian form as well. So thank you everybody for listening. And before we say goodnight, I just want to make sure no one else wanted to read. Just cover that one more time. And Jude, do you want to read one more short one to take us out?
Sorry, I forgot I was muted there for a second. I'm so used to most of the meetings that I'm in are my meetings, so I'm so used to being not muting myself.
Not to put you on the spot at all, but if you felt like it, I think it'd be lovely to have it end with one of yours.
Okay, I'll read. Yes, absolutely. When did you last ask a poet if they wanted to read and they said no, Ellie?
We don't often do that, no. We like the spotlight.
And I have, the whole book here in front of me. Yeah, okay, I just opened it at random and I like this one, so I'll read this one.
Very good.
And thank you all again for coming and for being a part of this and for not having me be alone on this day of celebration, which, I'm sure I would have celebrated anyway, but this is very cool. And I hope I see you all soon. This is called Vagabond on the Half Shell. None of this is what you predicted. You said I would never leave. You held up a mirror, showed me the version of myself that's inverted, dared me to be. Ocean's my only mirror. I prefer otherness, the invented face. Burlap sacks accommodate misshapen objects. I will be flotsam, at ease in my hempen skin. Half shells are broken homes. One shell, spotted like a leopard, shows how two halves have been dragged apart, a fragile part. I carry my unhinged half self to ocean's edge in a burlap sack. I will always leave. This much is predictable.
Awesome.
Thank you. Thank you all.
A big old clap for Jude.
Thank you.
Yeah.
A beautiful author, you. At this point, I would say if everyone wants to unmute, tell Jude how.
Thank you, Jude, so much.
You're very welcome, JD. It's great to see you.
You too.
Feels
Been
like
a
a
long
really, I know, Portland was like on another
Seems
planet, in
perfect.
another.
Yeah.
It just seems so fitting and perfect, and I'm so glad we did this today.
Great
Your
day.
poetry is incredible. Yeah. So I'll have a recording of this to share. Maybe reach out to Jude. Jude, I want to make sure, you can be in control of kind of where we put this and who you email it to you. So we can talk after, but it will be recorded for those who are here that want to watch it again. It's cool to watch it again after, for sure. And the transcript of the chat, so you can see all the incredible things that people wrote about your poems. Yeah.
Jude, I'm not sure if you caught it in the chat, but Holly has asked if it's possible, could she get a signed copy of your book? So I'll let you figure out how to make that work. If possible.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I will probably, I haven't done this yet, but I'll probably put a link on my website so that I can and get a few copies so that I can send them to people. Holly Holly asked me the exact same question when my chapbook came out, and that's how we did it.
Lovely.
Awesome. I just wanted to make sure that was mentioned because Holly has disappeared from the meeting. So
And Holly also wrote that she wants to stay in touch with us, and I want that to happen too. So if anyone can help me follow her on Twitter or wherever she may be, that would be great.
About Twitter, she's definitely on Facebook though, Ellie.
Okay.
Yeah.
If you think too, you could send me her connection. And again, so we will be back in about a month for Kari's launch. Kari, do you want to come back for just 1 second? Unmute.
All right.
Come here, girl. So as you listen tonight to her reading, you can tell that she's quite extraordinary and unique. And she is our first book for Femme Salve, which is the press that Amanda envisioned as a place where books that get ghosted or the press closes, or for whatever reason, a book that you believe in got the short end of the stick, gets to come here into loving feminist arms and be published. So we're very, very, very proud to have you as our first author. It's going to be fun.
It is. I will set up a Google form so that anybody who wants to come along can register like they did for Jude's.
Yeah, we'd love to have all of you back for that. That'll be great. Okay, well, I feel like I don't want to say goodbye. Maybe I'll stop recording now. Let's call this the official end of Jude's amazing launch. Thank you all so much. I'm going to end the recording now, and blessings to all, and yay Biden, and yay for peace on earth, for equality and care and love and not hate. Mwah. Thank you all so much.
Thanks, everybody.